Can't forget the clapboard. Well, hold on, let's do it again. Let me do it again. Can't forget the clapboard. What's up, everyone? My name is Ayo is the Future. I'd like to thank you for tuning in and tapping into what I'll be talking about today. And what I want to cover and highlight is the Sony a7r III with the Sony G Master 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Now, this camera has just proved to be an absolute workhorse. This specific setup, I always name my camera setups after the Transformers and stuff, and I would call this setup Starscream. And whenever I would have Starscream fully equipped, it would be the Sony a7r III with a Sony 35 millimeter, and then that would be on a Ronin M connected to the Ready Rig, and that's when you know I'm ready to shoot a movie all day, right? Action! Pause. Now.
If you talk crazy, I ain't with your neck. Last year, bummed this shit, I'm a flash. All I gotta say is that I'm next. Put my dad in stacks with a jab. Only throw that ass up in my chest. I'm getting.
So the reason why I wanted to kind of highlight this specific piece of gear that I have is because of the question that I got from a good colleague of mine out of Oswego, New York. And that question was, what would I do with $1,000 right now? Now, there's a bunch of passive income plays, but I'm talking time is money and time for money. And what I would do is, the very first thing I would look into is a camera, gimbal, microphone. And for that, I have the perfect gear and setup. So, but I'll get back to that real fast. The reason why I want to highlight this camera is because the endless jobs that I've got. I've shot in weddings with this, senior portraits, regular portraits, headshots for companies. I've even done a ton of music videos with this, as well as documentary. A good half of the documentary I'm filming right now, I've been filming it for about 40 months. And the first half I shot with this in 4K. And yes, this shoots in 4K. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this does 4K 120 frames per second. Now, the only thing I didn't specifically like about the a7r III was when you take a picture, it's almost like you have to go back in time and go and like wait for the film to develop and go and look at it and see if it's a good picture. So what ends up happening is if you're on set and you're trying to get your coloring and all that set up, your talent can get somewhat bored if you're not prepared. So definitely kind of go to your jobs. Get there 15 minutes before anybody else would be there. Get your camera set up. Get all your settings all situated. And the reason being is because preparation is like the catalyst to being a professional in my book. And arriving at a shoot later than anybody else on set, unless there's a tsunami and you're driving through it, you should be getting there before everybody else. And on top of that, you should have arrived yesterday to look at everything that you'll be worried about tomorrow. That's why they call me the future, right? So with that being said, another great thing about this camera is just how small it is. The run and gun size of this is remarkable. And the reason why I say that is because this Sony FS700 was the first camera I started shooting professionally with. Now, mind you, I used to film with this camera with a lens on it for 4-6 hours at a time, handheld.
Listening to a New York track, said I'm a New York cat. I'm a New York cat. Yo, this is New York rap. I'm bringing New York back. You listening to a New York track, said I'm a New York cat.
So, downsizing to the Sony a7r III was, it was a godsend. So what I did was I connected this to a Sony, a DJI Ronin SC with a 35 millimeter or 20 millimeter if I'm doing any virtual tours and any HDR photography for real estate. Those lenses are perfect for this, right? So let's segue into the gear that I would do for. So this is gonna be around 1,100, maybe 1,200 bucks off the top of my head. But you can, it just depends on the type of setup you want to get for the camera. The camera that I would choose would be the Sony a6000, and I would look for like a kit maybe on Amazon that had maybe like a 16 to 50 millimeter, or like a 20 to 20 millimeter would be nice too. But something that where you get like a decent wide field of view that has decent autofocus. A Sony lens is perfect for that. So in that way, when you go and you put this on the next piece of equipment that I'm going to say is the DJI Ronin SC, you put this camera on the Ronin SC. The SC is perfect for lightweight payloads. So in that way, you don't have to worry about this huge heavy camera getting on the gimbal. What you do is you get the a6000, and then you're gonna need a microphone too, right? So I would say the Sennheiser MKE 400. I have hands-on experience with the MKE 440, but that microphone is like half of our budget, I think, with this, right? That microphone is remarkable too, so I'll have to do another video on that. But for this $1,000, $1,100 setup, the Sony a6000 with the DJI Ronin SC with the Sennheiser MKE 400, and you are on your way. From there, the next thing, once you got the gear all set and situated, the jobs you can focus on today, you know, you have to get skilled. And by getting skilled with your camera, you got to know how, when you move the ISO, how that affects the aperture or the f-stop, and how that affects the shutter speed. Because shutter speed controls motion blur, right? You have the ISO. Your ISO is gonna dictate how much light you're letting in, right? And then your f-stop and aperture, it'll also change the lighting, but more importantly, it's gonna change your depth of field. So if you want that nice silky bokeh, silky bokeh. But if you want that nice, real smooth imagery where it's shallow up here and it's nice and clear and sharp in the back, you're going to be looking to change your aperture and f-stop. So we will get into all those details later down the road. So let's keep it moving, shall we? Stunning breezy voice, right? So after you get skilled, at this point, everybody around you should be getting comfortable with you taking pictures and video of them, and you're just learning your camera. Take pictures of everything. I don't care if it's dust settling. I don't care if it's raindrops hitting a pond. Take a picture of it, get some video of it, and just hone in on your craft. Master your craft, right? So now you've been doing this for like 6 to 8 months, and you're like, when do I start actually charging people? And how do I really start charging the people I've been shooting for free? And this is how you do it. You pretty much approach them one-on-one. Transparency and communication is everything. And you say, I'm looking to transition from taking this hobby of mine to a professional level, and I would love to have you as one of my first clients. I'll even grandfather you in as I upgrade my gear. My prices with you will stay the same. Long as you're loyal with me, I commit myself to you. What will end up happening is that you'll have a client for life. And then you can also bring in my referral system. If you use this referral system, please just hashtag AO is the future. And what I would do is I would say, yeah, if I do, I got a referral system for you. Are you interested? Cool, I bet. Now, if you go and refer somebody to me, your next photo shoot will be 50% off. Let's say if you did a special and with your referral program, you can do maybe 8 to 10 photo shoots in a day at $25 a pop. That's $250. That's not too bad, right? Some outside the box ideas to get you going. Music videos. There's so many artists, musicians that need content. They need electronic press kits. Look into an electronic press kit. If you're looking to get into the music field with the camera and stuff like that, build electronic press kits for people where you set your camera up, they sit in front of the camera, they talk like this, but they're more like, yeah, when I first started out, nobody was listening to me. Now everybody's listening to me type shit, right? So boom, there goes one job. From there, virtual tours, HDR photography, weddings, wedding photography, wedding videography, incorporate getting a Part 107 into the mix, and then you can start getting paid commercially for drone photography and aerial photography. Now you can also do documentaries. You could do, and by documentaries, do like small documentaries for somebody that like maybe like an entrepreneur may have a new business location that they're trying to build up. You can say, hey, listen, I'll give you a great deal, and I can time lapse and record and document the entire process. Would you want to work together? That type of stuff, right? So there was a few different ideas of you being able to turn your $1,000 into more money. Music videos with now okay, so now that kind of segues into, now that I am charging, how do I know where my prices should be based on what others are charging, right? You don't want to hurt the market, and you don't want to leave any money on the table. So what you're going to do is you're going to take into account the level of investment you have. So the acumen and education you have that you're bringing to, because everything isn't about money. It's also about what you have going on upstairs. Because if you're providing creative input to people's concepts, and you're doing a little bit more like location scouting and talent management and talent acquisition and all these other things, script writing and storyboarding, when you start doing all these different things, that has to be accounted into what you're charging, right? Because that's a job. Each one of those is a job. Even audio, lighting, that's all specific jobs. But what will happen is that you're gonna wear 800 hats every second. Don't worry about it. You'll get used to it, right? So that's when I think that you should start gauging your pricing on that. So that 25 to 35 starting out price range for photo shoots, perfectly reasonable. $150 to $250 for music videos, perfectly reasonable. You're starting out on a wedding, I wouldn't put my price too high. I would put my price at a decent range to where you start getting it, especially if you have a friend that's going to be getting married. You can say $500, $400 for some pictures, and they get all the raw files, and you'll compose a collage, right? So that way they're getting more bang for their buck. Whereas if somebody's been in shooting for 20 years, that's not going to be $500. That's going to be a lot more, maybe around $2,000, $1,800, right? So you just kind of know that there's different factors that will dictate and change what we can charge. So with all that being said, I hope you walk away with some great value, and just keep on creating. You have to invest. I believe that us as creators have to invest into our art, invest into our craft, upgrade our gear, because at that point we can start charging more. And with that being said, I think it's time I sign off. So I bid you farewell. Happy New Year. Episode 2 is in the books. Let's keep it moving. Hey, it was the future. Signing off.